Was it a point where you thought Beyonce was trying to imitate you?
I always said she was the original Beyonce. Beyonce stole her steez.
Oh, you think so?
Look at Crazy in Love video and look at Amerie. Why Don't We Fall in Love?
She was once a mystery wrapped in melody. An artist with a voice that glided across the early 2000s like a warm breeze, delicate yet unmistakably powerful. Before the world knew her name, before debates about imitation and influence began to swirl, there was simply a girl who loved words, rhythm, and the feeling of turning emotions into something beautiful. Long before the spotlight tried to swallow her whole, Amerie Rogers was just a young dreamer moving through life with a suitcase in one hand and a melody humming in her mind. Born in Massachusetts but shaped by the world, she spent her earliest years in South Korea, holding on to the memories of her mother's artistry and her father's strict military discipline. They moved endlessly, Alaska, Germany, different corners of the United States, never staying long enough to grow roots. But even in the constant motion, young Amerie found her anchor in creativity. By third grade she was dancing, singing, appearing on small stages and talent shows. Her sister Angela would grow up to become a lawyer, but even back then, the two moved through the world with a quiet determination passed down from their disciplined parents. Her household was strict. No calls on school nights. No leaving the house without permission. But there was also a strange kind of freedom, the freedom to dream, to create, to find rhythm in places where other kids only saw structure. She joined the ROTC not because she wanted a military career, but because she understood responsibility. She learned rules, but her heart was already writing its own. After high school, her family settled in Virginia where she attended Georgetown University, one of the country's most prestigious private schools. Most wouldn't expect an R&B star to emerge from an English and fine arts program, but that was the beginning of her magic. She didn't have a studio or equipment, just 2 tape recorders, her voice, and relentless dedication. She would record herself singing a full song onto one tape, then play it back while layering harmonies onto another. It was raw, imperfect, and brilliant, and somehow it worked. Her entire life changed in the most unexpected place: a McDonald's parking lot. A friend introduced her to producer Rich Harrison, the mastermind behind some of the era's biggest R&B and hip-hop hits. He recognized something instantly, something rare, something sharp, something original. Their partnership led to her debut album All I Have, a record that sold nearly 90,000 copies in its first week and introduced the world to a singer whose voice was both airy and strong, playful yet rich with emotion. Why Don't We Fall in Love became her calling card, a soft and shimmering hit that climbed the charts and lingered in the hearts of listeners who felt something real in her music. People didn't just hear her, they felt her. Amerie was no ordinary vocalist, a 3-octave lyric soprano who could write, produce, and conceptualize her own sound. She carried a musical identity that stood apart from the standard blueprint of early 2000s R&B. But it was in 2005 that her sound hit a new peak. A single track born from a rapid session with Harrison would shift her career and, unexpectedly, the sound of an entire decade. One Thing, a pounding go-go beat, a fierce, breathless vocal, a rhythm that felt like it grabbed your wrist and pulled you onto the dance floor whether you wanted to go or not. It exploded onto the scene with such force that it earned Grammy nominations and a wave of critical acclaim. But behind the success, something darker was beginning to creep into view. Because almost immediately after One Thing arrived, something strange happened. Other major artists started releasing tracks that sounded eerily similar, songs with the same energy, the same horn-driven patterns, the same electrifying go-go heartbeat that had once been uniquely hers. And at the center of all this, the same producer. Rumors swirled as fans drew comparisons between Amerie's groundbreaking sound and tracks that followed from megastars like Jennifer Lopez and Beyonce. Crazy in Love, with its explosive horns and energetic go-go influence, became one of the biggest hits of the decade. But fans couldn't help noticing the similarities. Was it inspiration, coincidence, or something else altogether? Amerie herself mentioned more than once that the industry felt male-dominated and dismissive of her creative voice. She didn't like the pressure. She didn't want to be pushed into revealing clothing or uncomfortable situations to make executives happy. She just wanted to create music that felt true. And when she brought One Thing to her label, Columbia Records rejected it multiple times. They demanded revisions, bigger choruses, different arrangements. Behind the scenes, whispers started circulating. JLO was preparing to release her album Rebirth, and the label didn't want another artist creating competition. Whether true or not, the timing raised eyebrows. Frustrated and dismissed, Amerie and her team made a bold move. They leaked one thing to radio, and radio stations refused to stop playing it. The song's momentum exploded, even as Columbia tried to push back against it. Meanwhile, Jennifer Lopez dropped Get Right, also produced by Harrison, sparking even more questions. Then fans drew parallels between Amerie's style and Beyoncé's new musical direction during the same era. Too many similarities, too many coincidences, too much speculation. Did the industry take the very sound she pioneered and hand it to the biggest artists on the planet? Only those in the rooms behind closed doors know the truth. But for Amerie, the impact was real. The battles, the resistance, the lack of support, the overwhelming pushback from a system she was never built to play nicely with. She once admitted she didn't understand why things became so chaotic.
You may have only found it in Japan from Haagen-Dazs.
Maybe you can help her find green tea ice cream or
why she wasn't given the backing she'd earned, why her artistic identity seemed to be used everywhere except where it should have been, behind her own name. Gradually, the spotlight dimmed. She didn't disappear. She chose peace. Amerie stepped away from the chaos, not because she lacked talent, but because she valued herself more than the industry valued her originality. She was open about her OCD and how the glamorous Hollywood lifestyle, the red carpets, the cameras, the pressure, never appealed to her. She didn't want reality shows. She didn't want spectacle. She just wanted authenticity. And when the industry became too loud, she walked away from the noise. She reinvented herself, shifting gears into a life she could control. She became a New York Times best-selling author, launched a successful online book club, and created a warm, supportive community of readers and thinkers. The girl who once recorded harmonies on twin cassette tapes now shares her love for literature with thousands of fans. Away from the flashing lights, she built a life of creativity, focus, and peace. In her personal world, love found her quietly. She dated producer Kutta Love during the early 2000s, a relationship often overshadowed by rumors linking him to Kelly Rowland's emotional, dirty laundry. But the connection faded and Amerie moved on. Then in 2007, fate introduced her to Lenny Nicholson, a Sony music executive who initially knew her only as an artist on his roster. But something else sparked. She remembers thinking he was cute, and he thought the same of her. A single conversation during a studio session shifted everything. Texts turned into plans. Plans turned into dates. Dates turned into a love story. By 2010, they were engaged. In 2011, they married on a sunlit beach in Anguilla in a ceremony so beautiful that even the long 375-foot walk down the aisle felt like a moment out of a dream. Lenny became her partner not just in life but in peace. Fans adore the stories Amerie shares about him. The way he stands whenever she stands at a restaurant, the quiet chivalry, the gentle love. She often talks about their routines, their favorite foods, and her quest to find the perfect matcha or green tea ice cream. A small pleasure she fell in love with in Japan. And the greatest chapter of her life came with the arrival of her son, River, born in May 2018. Her pregnancy came with challenges, and she delivered via C-section due to previous complications. But the moment she held him, her world changed. He became the inspiration behind her first book, You Will Do Great Things, a message of hope written for the little boy who transformed her life. Today at 44, Amerie looks nearly unchanged from the woman who once stunned the music scene. She credits the skincare wisdom passed down from her Korean mother, routines that keep her glowing and ageless. She lives quietly, focusing on writing, motherhood, and the things that nourish her soul. With a net worth of around $6 million and a legacy that still echoes through the R&B world, she remains a reminder that true artistry doesn't need noise to survive. Amerie didn't disappear. She simply chose a life where she could breathe.